Okay, so I think you've already answered the question in a roundabout way, but several years ago, Aaron and I were having a debate on, and he probably wouldn't even remember this, but we were having a debate on how weight versus strength, and what I mean by that is I was under the impression that I could run faster if I weighed less, whereas Aaron was saying, well, I'm going to weigh the same, but I'm stronger. So that's going to equal out. But and it goes back to kind of what you were saying towards the beginning of the podcast about, um, the multiplication of each pound on your joints weigh, on your knees would be 7 pounds or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and I think you've already answered it, but not directly. So like, what's the right answer? Should I weigh less and be able to run faster, or should I train strength and expect to run faster?
So I think I think there's no like ideal body weight. Everyone's got their own unique one, and it's there's guys with big engines that are always going to be bigger, and that's okay. And not everyone's going to be some like putting out a 15-minute 5K and stuff like that. The most important thing is when it comes to running is number one, putting force into the ground. So I don't care what you weigh. Obviously, if there's a certain cost to moving weight, meaning to maintain muscle mass costs a lot of energy. So yeah, but if your job demands it in other areas, right? So perfect example. So if we've got someone going through and they can run the mile and a half in 7 minutes. Okay, congratulations, you're a beast aerobic, but then they put on a ruck and they get absolutely crushed. So there's this weird dynamic, which is why I love working with the militaries, because you can't be the runner, the cross-country kid who has no muscle mass to support because you don't do anything without a kit or without gear. And that's what I love. So it's this weird dynamic. We need enough muscle mass to support what we do in terms of load carriage, in terms of absorbing force, producing force, or just kicking ass and taking names, right? Like if someone takes me to the ground, I want to be able to defeat that person, not with my aerobic system, but with grip, with my bicep, with all that. So it's kind of one of those, you can't really answer that question because, some people will need to put on more mass, because they might be crushing the runs, but then all of a sudden, like they're just getting obliterated by the ruck because their tissues can't sustain that load carriage. And then you have someone else who might benefit from dropping 5 pounds just because they're going to lose that extra little bit of go. So there's no set answer. And unfortunately, it's just kind of one of those where it depends on every person.
Yeah.
But I think you can look at some person honestly and say, yeah, I think that you can motor at your own weight. Or, yeah, you need to add a little bit of mass to you. So,
yeah, I think the answer is probably a little bit of both. But you're right. It's depending on, like for me right now, I know I need to lose some weight. I am weaker than I have been previously, but I also know that a lot of my speed, or my performance rather, is based off of some of the weight I've gained and also my poor training regime in terms of my capacity, like, and especially after talking to you through this, I'm sitting here going like, man, I've really been screwing myself up. So this goes back to what I've told people in the past is like, hey, right now I've been training poorly. So it's a snapshot though. This is not forever. Like, and even if somebody doesn't agree with what you've just said during this podcast, right?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Do it for 4 months, do it for 3 months. And what have you lost?
Yeah. And that's the whole thing is training is this great individual, like at the end of the day, you're going to have to find out what works for you, but I will say this, can anyone show me how getting your aerobic system stronger is going to make you slower? I've never had anyone answer that, like, in terms of actual, like, scientific, like, explaining the mechanisms by which. Now, someone's going to pull up a photo of some Kenyan marathon runner and be like, look. I'm like, are you serious right now? like to pull up David Goggins as an example, I know he's a polarizing, figure, but, like, you understand he was running, like, the Moab 240, almost won it, and then still broke the pull-up world record for most pull-ups in 24 hours. So, like, I know that's one example, but I could keep pulling them out of the hat of like many of these hybrid athletes. But it's because it takes more effort. It's harder. It's harder to program because you have to get rid of what you want sometimes for what you need or what your body can recover from or what your body can handle. Because, for instance, it's sometimes about taking away stuff out of your program. Here's an example. Do you know that there's some exercises where I do 1 set, 1 rep per week? And that's because I'm getting stronger. I'm in, I'm out, and I'm not concerned with what my max is. I'm concerned with improving, and I've got time to get strong. I'm not trying, if I have a time limit, then things change. If I've got a ship date, of course, then I've got to structure things a little bit more. But if you're just training or you're at a unit or you're just staying fit or you want to be a badass as long into life as possible, what's the rush? Like, what's your rush to get your deadlift up? 6 weeks ago, you beat your deadlift record, you posted it, and now you're trying to do it again. Like, that's coming from something else. Like, I don't need to prove to people I'm a monster by proving to people I'm a monster. I'm doing what I need to become better at the stuff I need to. So it's a process, and that's what training is. But I've never seen someone improve their capacity and get worse. It doesn't logically make it. It doesn't. I don't know of any argument against it as long as you're eating properly. So if people think that doing lots of low intensity cardio makes you like small and weak, your diet's trash. You're not eating enough to support both the low intensity training, the high intensity strength training, and getting a caloric excess. In fact, actually, doing lots of low intensity training is going to bring more oxygen to your tissues. You're going to have better blood flow to your tissues. So you actually should increase hypertrophy. It should make it easier to put on more muscle mass because you have more blood flow to the muscles. If you're getting weaker, it's because your strength training sucks. There's plenty of examples. An acquaintance of mine, Alex Viada, has pulled a 700-pound deadlift and done an ultra marathon in the same week.